In the same week, I had 2 patients taking semaglutide or Ozempic. One paid $1,200, the other paid $200. The same drug, the same dose, but way different prices. What's the catch? I'm Dr. Karthik Odeyapan, and I prescribe GLP-1 medications for my patients with diabetes or obesity. The number one thing that blocks my patients from getting access to these medications is cost. Companies know this, and they feel that there is a golden opportunity in selling these medications, and they're doing everything they can to drive down the prices. But what corners are they cutting? In this video, I'm going to talk about what you're actually getting for that lower cost. So let's now compare the two scenarios. In scenario 1, I prescribe the FDA-approved pen Ozempic or Wegovy straight to the pharmacy. The pharmacy buys this medication from the manufacturer, Novo Nordisk, and the insurance then negotiates a price. And even with coverage, this medication ends up being somewhere of $1,000 to $1,200. A part of the reason for the high price is that you're paying for the years of research that it took to develop this medication, including the clinical trials, the safety testing, the pen that is highly engineered, the stabilization chemistry, everything that made this drug possible. On the other hand, the other reason the price is so high are middlemen called pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs. PBMs sit in the middle of the manufacturer and insurance, and they inflate the cost of medications without any added value. I definitely have a bone to pick here, and this will be a future video topic. In the second scenario, when I see patients in the office already taking semaglutide, I ask them where they are getting this medication from. They typically tell me that they are getting it from an online company for $200 a month subscription without ever seeing a doctor. They go online, they fill out a couple questions, and they enter their credit card details, and a couple days later, just like magic, it arrives at their doorstep. Here is the real important bit. These companies have lower prices because they work with special pharmacies, or they own special pharmacies called compounding pharmacies. Compounding pharmacies exist for one reason: to make individualized medications. I'll give you an example. Say, for example, I want to prescribe a medication that is currently a tablet or a pill, but I need it to be a liquid version for a particular reason, like my patient is having difficulty swallowing the medication. But a liquid version doesn't exist on the market. I can have the compounding pharmacy make a liquid version of the capsule or tablet. Compounding pharmacies can also recreate medications that are in shortage. But to be very clear, compounding pharmacies are not making Ozempic or Wegovy. The key difference is that compounding pharmacies buy raw semaglutide powder from suppliers overseas, like in China or India. They then take that raw powder and they dissolve it in solution, and they add different stabilizers, and then they put it into the vials that you can then draw up using an insulin syringe. Now, the online companies may claim that their pharmacies are FDA approved, but that only means that their pharmacies are registered with the FDA and they undergo regular inspections. That does not mean that the FDA inspects the medications that these pharmacies are making or compounding, including semaglutide. If I had to summarize all of this in one sentence, it would be this: the price is lower because the safety standards are lower. There are real risks in the impurities in the raw ingredients, the variable concentrations, the shorter shelf lives, the different stabilizers, and there's no rigorous testing or FDA approval process. Some pharmacies do this responsibly and others do not. It's really hard to know who's who. So if you see a $200 price tag, just remember, you are not buying Ozempic or Wegovy. You are buying a compounded version of that with materials that are bought from overseas, and none of that is FDA tested. If cost is your priority, just know what you're trading off. And if you want the safest version of this medication, the most studied version of this medication, it's best to go with the brand name.